Today in the PIO podcast, I'd like to introduce Public Information Officer Meeghan Black from the Renton Police Department in Renton, Washington. Meeghan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Robert. Looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm really excited to get you on. When I start researching people, the more I learn about them, the more fun it is. And you've got such a really incredible background that I'm like, okay, I got to get her on and hear the stuff that she knows. And of course, our listeners always appreciate and our viewers appreciate when we bring somebody on that's got the background that you do. So how did you become the PIO, first of all? And then we'll go into your background.
So I did have a very long career in broadcast journalism. Almost 3 decades. I know it doesn't look like it, but I did. I took some time off in between after I just left that career because it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. And I dabbled in PR. I dabbled in, communications consulting, and I worked with nonprofits. And then a position with the Bellevue Police Department, which is just about 10 miles north of us, came open. Early in my journalism career, I had covered the Bellevue Police Department quite extensively. And when I saw their PIO position come open, I was like, I can do that job, like, easily. And so I jumped in and I spent over 4.5 years with Bellevue. And then this position in Renton came up, which is actually where I have lived for 20 plus years. And this is a managerial role. I have a team of 4, whereas I did the entire job by myself in Bellevue. So this is an opportunity for me, and get this, the department is about a third size smaller, but yet they are so forward thinking in their communications that they have a team, and they were looking for someone to really put some guidelines and structure around this team so that we can become the premier communications department in law enforcement in the Northwest. That's really their goal. It is a high bar. We strive to make that every day, but that's kind of the journey that I took to get to Renton.
All right, so that I did not know. Okay, so let's talk this then. Before we talk about your background, what's the demographics of the police department? Sworn personnel versus professional civilian staff?
So we are slated for 137 commissioned officers. We have, how many? I wrote it down. 39 professional staff, so 176. Renton has about 110,000 residents. And so we are growing. We have the Seattle Seahawks are headquartered here. The Sounders FC are headquartered here. We have Wizards of the Coast, it calls home base. Of course, Boeing is in Renton. So it's a very diverse, one of the most diverse cities in Washington State, and it's happening. I mean, we are right at the south end of Lake Washington. It is absolutely gorgeous with Mount Rainier to our south and the Cascades, of course, to the west, and it's the Olympic Mountains. It's beautiful.
My son lived out in Everett for about a year with the U.S. Coast Guard, and we happened to go out there and visit him 2 years ago, actually almost 3 years ago now. And just beautiful, beautiful country. And I had been, my wife's best friend had gotten married in Hood River. So we ended up doing that whole thing along Hood River. But that whole area is just amazing. But again, four people, staff, you supervise a staff of 4. So that counting you, that's 5. 5 people in the Public Information and Public Relations Department for a department with 130 officers. That's incredible.
It is, and it's very forward thinking on the part of the city of Renton and the police department. Yeah. So our team is broken up. We also do PIO work. We handle community engagement. We handle crime prevention, and the crime analyst is on my team.
Okay, so let's not jump in too deep because I want to make sure I set all this up. So we'll get to that. Let's talk about your career first. I want to get you set up first. Okay. So you had an interesting career. You started out in Pocatello, Idaho, and then you moved into more journalism, and then you opened up a business in 2014. What was that about?
So, yeah, I was one of those weird kids that at 16 years old, I decided what I wanted to do, and that was broadcast journalism. And I got the first job I applied for out of college, and I spent 28 years in broadcasting, doing everything from, street reporting, anchoring. I became a meteorologist. I hosted Evening Magazine, which is a news magazine, hour-long or a half-hour-long format show. I did everything from politics to world travel and at some point, the grind got to me. And I just was like, it just wasn't feeding my soul anymore. So I did that, and in my transition as I was leaving television, I didn't know what the heck I could do and how those skills would translate into other areas. I had only ever done television, and so I created my own company, and I had been doing a lot of media training throughout my broadcasting career. I had partnered with someone who was in public affairs, and so we had the corporate and we had the media side to it. So I'd spent probably about 10 years of my career doing media training. So with this company, I would do communications consulting. I would work with nonprofits. I literally spent 5 years with Meeghan Black Media, taking on different jobs and dabbling and playing and trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do next. So after about 5 years of doing that, the job with the Bellevue Police Department opened up. So I launched into that, and I really feel I have the same passion that I did early on for my television career. So now I have this second career that I am as excited about and love as much, and I feel so blessed to have that in this second half of my life, right? A lot of people don't get one career that they love and are passionate.
All right, so like you said, you're passionate about your career having a second one, and that's kind of similar to what I did. Did law enforcement 27 years. 15 of those years were the PIO for my agency. I did it all the way up until I retired. I started out in community relations early on as an officer, and then just kept moving up, and took that with me. I turned my department, which was only 64 officers at the time. I brought with it a sergeant that I once I got promoted to commander, turned him into my second PIO, and then I had an 8-man community relations unit. But it was like you as a staff, this is what I want to talk about now. So you have crime prevention, and what else do you have? So let's talk about that.
The crime analysis, PIO work, and community engagement.
Okay, so again, all that stuff falls together because when you're putting out information to the community about crimes that are occurring, the analysis is where you're going to get that stuff, and getting stuff out immediately about especially burglaries or thefts or whatever it might be. That's going to come through your office anyway, so why not have the analyst sitting right there?
Right, and that was new with my position. We have found it very beneficial. And the other thing that I have been able to do, we have a fairly young crime analyst, and I am able to help her communicate data and presentations, and I'm helping her with that aspect of her job as she develops in her career. As you know, when you're advising the chief and the chief needs to talk before the city council or community meeting, how you display the data and how you talk about the numbers is critically important. And so with my background and the ability to communicate these types of things, it really is helping her grow and mature in that aspect of her job. You know, when she runs her dam reports and her crystal this and whatever, I kind of like glaze over because that's not my thing. But when she actually's got the information, I can then help her communicate that and present it in a way that is very professional and helps support the command staff.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, if the data is not interpreted the right way, if it's not presented the right way, the interpretation can mean the difference between a cut in your budget or an increase in your budget. And that could be catastrophic to an agency.
And it can be misleading as well.
Yeah.
So you really need to be consistent in your interpretation and make sure that you are looking at it from all sides to see how it might be interpreted, either sometimes with nefarious factors. You have people who are trying to skew the reports, but we really want it to be on solid ground.
Now, with your department, do you guys have a crime dashboard or a statistics dashboard that analyst puts together?
Yes, and it is public. So we have quite a bit of public information, and then she also creates these amazing dashboards internally for us to, track our firearms cases and shootings, anything that happen, just that we want to track on a daily basis that really helps support our patrol officers and connecting the pieces as to where things are happening. So yes, we have quite a bit of information that is available to the public and both internally.
Okay, so you have crime prevention, the data analyst, another public information officer. Are any of these sworn?
Nope.
They're all civilian.
We are all civilian.
Okay.
My position was created new as a civilian. So they used to have a sergeant or on up to a commander level who would oversee the department. But what they found is that rotation is terrible for consistency, particularly when you're dealing with communicating with the public, and the direction for the unit, right? So we, when I came in, I'm really focusing in more on developing the public information aspect of it. We have our crime, two different members, so the duties are kind of split. We have the crime prevention aspect of it, but then they also do PIO work. And then so we have businesses and neighborhoods split out, and then we have one who focuses mainly on community engagement. And so it's developing that communications because at the end of the day, if we don't tell our community what we're doing, they first of all don't know what we're doing, and they don't think we're doing it. And
Absolutely.
so everything we do, I like to communicate out. I like to educate. I do like all these videos, which talks about the different units we have and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then to take that and bring it to the community through our community or crime prevention efforts with our neighborhood watch or our business watch meetings and that type of thing. So it's really putting some structure around the communications department.
Outstanding. All right, I'm going to get into some technical stuff. What social media platforms are you guys currently utilizing?
So this community is all about Facebook. It's insane. I went on simple things like a speed emphasis patrol. It's amazing how crazy the community gets about speed emphasis, because after COVID, as you know, everything kind of went haywire. We have last time I checked, there were 300 comments on this post, this one post that I did. And so we do Facebook quite a bit, Twitter, X, less so these days, but that really is a lifeline to the media. We do Instagram and YouTube.
Okay, a quick question about X. Are you paying for the blue check mark? You're not. Okay. There was a study that was just put out. One of the PR firms that I do consulting work with out on the East Coast, John Guilfoyle PR, they just put a study out that was published by Police One, and it talked about the downfall of Twitter. And one of the things that as I read the article, I was going in there is all these agencies are not paying for the check mark, so their engagement automatically falls off right away. And even if you have the gray check mark as an official agency, it's still not the paid version. So, yeah, I know that's kind of a concern of a lot of people, and they think that Twitter's over with. But I still think it's a very viable social media platform to reach to the community rapidly.
Right. And breaking news, right?
Yeah.
If you have an ongoing incident, it still is an effective way to communicate it. But what we found is that a large portion of our audience is no longer on it. And one other platform I forgot to say is Nextdoor. Of course,
Nextdoor is really it is really nice because it's so good about targeting neighborhoods, and you're only getting your community, which is kind of nice.
I just wish our entire community were on it, right?
Yeah,
When you have a third of your community on it, you're only reaching a small portion. But
yeah, it's very
that's neither
tough
here
to
nor there.
force people to want to get on it. But on the other end of it, I like my wife was on the one that in our community here, and I'm the lead for my area. But the funny thing is she goes, they complain a lot on there, and they talk about stupid stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the minutia of it. You just got to ignore that.
Yeah. As with a lot of social media.
Yes,
But we
absolutely.
digress.
Yes. All right. So one of the other reasons I reached out to you, Meeghan, was to talk to you about telling stories. And law enforcement has always struggled to tell their story, and they rely on that legacy media services to do it. And we know, number one, is they don't have the time or the space to do it anymore, and they also don't really have the desire to do it. So, in the high-paced world of social media, why do you believe sharing stories about officers and staff is so important?
So I totally agree that law enforcement historically has relied on your earned media and your legacy media. What social media does is allows us to become our own spokespeople for the community. And so telling stories, as I had mentioned earlier, if we don't communicate with our community, they don't know. And for me, there's so much good work that's being done that the community doesn't even know about, and it's our job to tell them. And what I have found is that I can post whether it's an incident that's happening, whether our brand new violent crime unit that we dispatch, that is, we've seen violent crime rates plummet, particularly among juvenile offenders. Telling those kinds of stories, the media picks up on it, and 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, they take what I publish and they just broadcast it. They never call me. They don't verify facts. They don't have follow-up questions. As legacy media continues to diminish in their staffing levels, right?
Yep.
They don't have the bandwidth to produce the content that they used to, and so they rely on us. And so getting storytellers and communications professionals in these communication roles within the police department, no offense to the commissioned officers who are appointed to those roles, right? And there are some like you who enjoy that work and really flourish in it. But let's be honest, there are a lot of them who are just told this is what your assignment is.
Yep.
So getting someone whose passion is communication and connecting with community and building those bridges through those words and videos and posts, that really makes a huge difference. We've tracked our numbers, and I've been here about a year and a half, and our social media following and engagement has shot through the roof because we are producing more videos. We are communicating more and more and more, and I am all about as much transparency as possible. I work very closely with our investigative team, the detectives, our special operations groups, and they love to have our content pushed out. We just work carefully, like what can we say, and we don't want to ever, jeopardize an investigation, but there's so much information we can tell. And the more we can tell our community, the better they feel. We just had a shooting at one of the transit centers here, and we literally within 11 minutes had the suspect in custody, even though he had jumped on another bus and we were talking to the bus drivers and all this great communication in custody. And we let the community know, well, a different agency, because the transit center falls under a different jurisdiction, they took over the investigation. They were like, whoa, that's way more information than we would ever give out. And I'm like, but why? Our canine was able to backtrack and find the weapon that was ditched. So now our community knows, yes, this horrible incident happened.
Right.
We have a suspect in custody and we've recovered the weapon, rather than just one in custody after a shooting. And that's it.
Right.
So
Plus,
let's be as transparent as possible.
Right. And plus, the community eventually will read that the person ditched a gun, but they never know if the police found it. So then there's the concern that, somebody could find that gun and use it again, or some poor kid's going to come across it and accidentally shoot someone.
Or take it and use it for other purposes, right? We have, so yeah, it just, and I am, again, very blessed to have the support of the command staff and the city of Renton to be able to tell these stories and to be able to be aggressive in pushing this information out. And I am not, they don't look over my shoulder all the time, right?
Yeah.
They're not, they're like, you do what you think you need to in order to support our community and the department. And so it's why I love my job.
And let's face it, we can make reporters' jobs so much easier. And let me explain what I mean by that. So, my daughter is a digital executive producer for a news channel in Madison, Wisconsin. And one of the things that they always have in their meetings is they go to the reporters, all right, I need 3 stories. Pitch me 3 stories for today, and then you better start thinking about what's coming tomorrow. Call your police department. Hey, what do you guys got coming up? Do you have anything new that you're going to be putting out? If you're putting good content out like that, you're going to say, yeah, I got some stuff. I'll send it over to you. And they're doing their job and you're doing your job, and you just increase your exposure.
And I would go a step further. I like to do what I call spoon feed the media. I will give them as much video, pictures, information as I possibly can. So that when we do have an active incident, I am giving them access to, like, normally you would keep them at a block's length apart. And I'm like, no. They're just going to find ways to find video, and now they'll send up a drone, or they will find ways. Let me escort them in. Show them what they need to do at a safe distance where possible, and then escort them out.
Yep.
It makes their job so much easier. I also answer my flippin' phone. And I got to tell you, it is a pain sometimes, particularly in the overnight hours. But being accessible and answering your phone makes their job so much easier. I have also, like, I will slap on some makeup, throw on a shirt, 7 o'clock on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, and I will be that talking head for them to help them with the car prowl story, to help them with whatever it is, because I know what they need to do their jobs.
Right.
And I want to help them, because here's the rub. At the end of the day, we work in law enforcement. Bad things happen in law enforcement, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when our number is going to come up, and whether a mistake is made, whether there's an officer-involved shooting. Whether, you want the media to wait a beat and to at least call you before they print or report information that they have not yet verified.
Much
And
better
so
to
I
have them
work
on your side, right?
I work very, very hard at building and cultivating those relationships, and that means doing my part to help them do their job.
Right. And all right, so you mentioned this. You mentioned officer-involved shootings. Does your office or does their department produce critical incident briefing videos relating to
So we've
those,
talked
like,
about it a lot.
LAs?
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. Obviously, you look at, LA, and they have these massive media departments. Some of ours, Tacoma, which is south of us, I think it's the second largest city in the state. They do, knock on wood, we don't have that many incidents. We've had one officer-involved shooting, which was there was just not a lot of media attention to it because of the circumstances involved in it. So we haven't had to do that. We've talked about it. And so not yet. And I would love it if I spent my entire career and didn't have to, right? Didn't have to have one of those incidents.
Right.
But so far we don't. And I need to investigate what kind of equipment and what kind of editing software. I just need to know what I need to do that. So that's a good reminder for me that I should probably put that on my list.
And it's also like, so when I was in Colorado Springs, we had just put the policy together. And one of the things that they did is they looked at how many days are we waiting before we put the video out? What is the state law? And they really worked with not only the prosecutor's office to make sure that they weren't overstepping, but they wanted to make sure that they were trying to be as transparent with the public as possible, and how to get that video out and in what format to get it out, as well as how much information to put out. I mean, they married everything from body camera to vehicle movement across a street map to the actual shooting itself, and of course breaking down policy, location of where the body camera was located on the body. So that all goes to being transparent to the public and giving them the proper perspective of what they're seeing.
Without a doubt. And we do use body cam footage. We put out a fair amount of it, not gratuitously so, but where it's important to show those things. So that is definitely a conversation that I think the department needs to continue to have, to figure out, in the event of a catastrophic type incident, what our policy is.
Yeah, it's a matter of, like you said before, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Yeah. Usually that's what it comes to be. And in Colorado Springs, they were a busy department and had a lot of things going on. So that was not an uncommon thing for us to do, 3 or 4 in a year, easily. Artificial intelligence. I ask all my guests this question. Have you utilized, or first of all, let me ask you this. What are your thoughts about it?
So, I don't. It scares me, to be perfectly honest. I know what we're dealing with, right? We don't use it a lot. I've used it to spur ideas, like you need a good title for a campaign, or sometimes you're just stuck on how to say something, and so you spit it out. I just am doing a recruitment for one of my team members decided to become a patrol officer, and so she just started the academy, and so we're hiring. And I cannot tell you the number of applications that folks use AI to answer the question, why do you want to work for the Renton Police Department? Or what is effective community engagement, and what does community engagement mean to you? And they have these 3-paragraph bullet point, and I'm like, okay, if you cannot answer those questions from your own original thought, what makes you think you're going to be effective in the job? Right. So, and it doesn't, I have yet to read a really well-produced AI article that doesn't sound AI.
Right.
So I'm really leery of it. I'm somewhat, I have a 20-year-old who's her second year of college, and she, well, first of all, hates AI altogether because she thinks it's destroying the environment. And if you look at all the resources it consumes in order to produce it, she's got a point. So she doesn't use it. But I worry about the kids who do use it in lieu of actually reading the material and understanding it. I mean, that's kind of a long way. There's so much packed into AI.
Why I ask, because everybody has a perspective that might be different, and it's important especially for us, we have to be transparent about the use of it and why we're using it. And I'm a big proponent of help me polish this up a little bit, or do I have all the pieces of an article that I need to have in there? Like sometimes you don't have enough research in there, or you're missing your conclusion. It's not quite right. And sometimes AI will go through it and say, hey, you may want to add this in there. And then it makes you make that next leap. But I've never used it to write an entire article. That's foolish. And not only is it foolish, but it's really cheating, because in the reality of it is it's like copying somebody else's paper.
Well, and AI doesn't understand your voice as a department. Right. It doesn't understand your community as consumers of what you, a lot of what I do is dictated by the feedback I get from our community.
Right.
When, you put stuff out, you listen to their concerns, you hear what they're saying, the criticisms as well as the compliments. And I try to inform the way I communicate so that I answer some of those questions and I hit those marks so that they don't feel like that information was left out. And it's definitely not intentional, but AI can't do that for you.
Right, absolutely. Meeghan, is there a question I should have asked? And if so, how would you have answered it?
So, other than why I love law enforcement, why I enjoy working for law enforcement, and I would say, after spending a long time in media and feeling like that I was contributing, I truly 100% feel like I make a difference now, particularly in the community in which I live. I take it very seriously, and I'm very passionate about keeping the community informed and educated and involved in what we do, trying to bring them into our work, acknowledging the challenges that we have as a community and some of the crimes that we're dealing with and some of the scams and this kind of thing, but at the same time being able to empower them with at least the knowledge or some tips on how to help protect yourself. And I love that feeling. It's a cliche of middle age that you need to have your meaningful work and give back to the community. But there's some truth to that. And I honestly feel like this job allows me to contribute and give back.
Yeah. When I retired, I retired in 20, right in the beginning of the pandemic, and it was more because
Good timing.
Well, it was because my wife had breast cancer, and I wanted to take care of her. And 6 months later, she's fine. So now I'm
Good.
like 6 months into it. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm 50. I was 53 at the time, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I decided I'm gonna create a podcast, and that's where this all started. Was me staying connected to the community. And then what do? I moved to Colorado Springs. I moved back to Chicago. I get a job working for Texas A&M, teaching PIOs in public information all hazards for FEMA. So I'm delivering those things. I'm doing the podcast. I still write regularly and provide that as resources for other agencies and firms. So I love giving back to the community. I love being involved in the community all the time. And that, to me, that's what all the PIOs that I've ever met have ever wanted to do.
Right. Right. And it does. It's meaningful work.
Yes, it is. All right, let's lighten this up. Let's go to some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Texting or talking?
Definitely talking.
Movies or books?
It depends on how tired I am. I have a tendency when I open a book to fall asleep like within a couple of pages. So I like both. I have a tendency to do the books on the long weekends.
Coffee, tea, or energy drink?
Coffee.
Adult drink of choice?
Red wine.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. Got 2 of them.
What's your favorite go-to karaoke song?
Don't look down on me. I've never done karaoke.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm like, it just, maybe I haven't had enough adult beverages yet to allow it. And I don't know if anybody would really want me to, other than I do sound like Barbara Streisand in the showers.
If you've ever gone to an NIOA conference, one of the things that you'll end up in one of the bars in the hotel doing karaoke, because they always set it up. And that's how you get dragged up there. I've been dragged up there several times. I can't sing for anything.
Well, I plan on attending this year.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. Yeah, just find out where the karaoke is. It'll be a blast.
Or not.
Yes. If you could have a superpower, which one would you choose?
I would find a way to reverse course on global warming.
There you go. That's good. If you could instantly become an expert in one thing, what would that be?
Reversing global warming.
Ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
Oh, for Pete's sakes, you beg for forgiveness.
PIOA. What place do you most want to travel to?
So, like the Arctic or Antarctica. I have met a couple of people within the last couple of months that have done trips in both places.
Oh, wow.
And I am like, never thought about it, would love that.
Interesting. First person I've ever heard say that Antarctica or Arctic. Interesting. What's your favorite way to relax after a long day?
So my dogs. I really love going for walks, sitting down and playing with them. Nobody is as excited to see you and jump all over you as your dogs. I don't care how much you love your spouse. They just don't have that same wiggle in their butt. And so going for nice walks, sitting down, having a glass of wine and just chilling. Like we in communications do so much of this. It's just nice to check out.
I get it. Totally agree. If you could sit down with any historical figure, alive or dead, and have coffee with them, who would it be?
So that is a really good one. Hannah Arendt Arendt, I believe is her name. She's a philosopher. Was into totalitarianism, understanding misinformation, kind of dealing with the political climate that we're in right now, and understanding how history informs us on where we're at and where we can go, the paths and the choices that we have. I would very much like some of that guidance.
Very good. Meeghan, final thoughts. What key points would you like our listeners to take from today's interview?
So as PIOs, you got to tell your story. It's your job to communicate what you are doing. And when you say tell your story, yes, that can be a profile of an officer, but it's the day-to-day. What are you doing? One of our biggest complaints is that they want to see more patrol cars. So let's hop in a car and show them where we're patrolling, right? It doesn't have to be this long form story. People don't always know when you're driving through their neighborhoods, right? It's what specialty units do you have? How is your special operations group working on that organized retail theft case? How is we have to keep telling them what we're doing, and that builds trust. That allows for them to feel safer. It reduces the fear of crime when they know that you actually care about the car burglars, right? Those who are doing car prowls, those who are stealing cars. Why is it that, yes, we do pay attention, and it's important that you report it to us. So it's telling your story of what you are doing. It's the number one thing I think that we can do to help our community.
Great point. As we wrap this up, is there a piece of wisdom or a motto that you live by?
Other than, don't take yourself too seriously, and this is something that I try to teach my daughter, it's trust your gut. Trust your gut. Your gut will rarely, if ever, steer you wrong. When you're sitting in a meeting and someone's going off on something and it just doesn't seem well and they want you to do it, trust your gut and ask questions, right? And that obviously goes without saying when you're walking outside and you kind of get those spidey senses, but trust your gut.
Great point. Excellent point. Meeghan, how could people best reach you if they want to connect or follow up, maybe even apply for a position?
So you can reach out to me through email. It's very easy. It's mblack@rentonwa, W-A as in Washington.gov, or you can search for the Renton Police Department and get a hold of us that way. So we'd love to talk to you.
I will add both of those into the show notes so they can find the links.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert. It was great to talk to you.
Meeghan, thank you very much for being on the show.
You betcha. Take care.